Have you ever had that feeling at work where your greatest strength, your empathy, your willingness to jump in and help, is somehow also your biggest weakness? Well, today, we are going to strategically deconstruct a really common but deeply misunderstood power trap, the over-caretaking instinct. We're going to explore how your best intentions can be systematically turned against you, trapping you in what feels like a golden cage you built yourself. And more importantly, we're going to map out the strategy to reclaim your power. This quote right here, it just gets to the heart of this painful paradox, doesn't it? We're always told to be a team player, be indispensable. But what happens when you get so helpful that people stop seeing you as a peer and start seeing you as a resource, a utility? That's the central problem we're tackling. The more you become a function, the less you're seen as an authority. It is a subtle social trap that can completely stall your career, leaving you stuck doing all the invisible labor while other people climb the ladder right on your back.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start by really defining this trap and its all too familiar symptoms. Then we'll shift into a strategic analysis, dissecting the psychological engine that makes it run. Finally, and this is the most important part, we're going to equip you with a concrete, actionable protocol to break free and anchor yourself in a position of genuine strength and influence.
Okay, let's start our diagnosis with a feeling I'm sure many of you know all too well: helpfulness burnout. It's that slow, creeping realization that you're the go-to person for every single problem, every fire, every emotional flare-up. You've become the team's designated shock absorber, constantly smoothing things over for everyone else while your own goals and ambitions just kinda wither on the vine. It is, frankly, exhausting. This slide really just cuts to the core of the problem. It exposes the huge gap between what you think you're doing and how the system actually interprets it. You see yourself as a dedicated team player, but what the system sees and rewards is a convenient shock absorber. You're trying to be indispensable, but you're being treated like a high-functioning intern, essential for the grunt work, but completely overlooked for the big opportunities. Your kindness isn't seen as a virtue. It's seen as your willingness to be managed by a service baseline, an unspoken rule that you'll always be the one to clean up the mess.
And this brings us to a key concept inside this trap: utility inflation. It's the harsh math of your situation. You're putting in 150% of the work for maybe 50% of the respect. Every single time you reflexively say yes and you prioritize the group's comfort over your own deep work, you're actively devaluing your own time and focus. It's a trade that feels generous in the moment, but believe me, it is a long-term career killer.
And the direct result of utility inflation is something we call status atrophy. This is that slow, quiet erosion of your professional standing. You've just been so busy with all the office housework, the tasks that keep the machine running but never ever lead to a promotion, that you're not even in the room when the real decisions are being made. You've effectively been niced out of the leadership track. You're the reliable hand, not the visionary mind.
So we've diagnosed the symptoms. Now let's get under the hood and look at the engine that's driving all this. This isn't just a series of bad luck moments. It's a predictable, self-reinforcing system. We're going to deconstruct what we call the utility submission loop and expose exactly how your best intentions are being weaponized to keep you stuck.
This system runs in a really powerful four-stage loop. It starts with an emotional surveillance scan, then it moves to the utility anchor, it rewards you with a deceptive validation reward, and finally, it springs the responsibility trap. Let's break down exactly how this insidious cycle turns your empathy into the group's invisible engine.
So it all begins with what feels like one of your strengths, your high-attuned empathy. You're constantly scanning the room for tension, for friction, for any sign of discomfort. Your brain flags this as a threat to the group. So what do? You perform an unsolicited rescue, solving a problem before anyone even had to ask you to. You're suiting the system, sure, but you're also setting a really dangerous precedent that you'll always be the one to absorb the tension. And because you get so good at fixing these little problems, that becomes your role. This is the utility anchor. This is the precise moment where control shifts. Your value to the team becomes defined not by your strategic insights or your creativity, but by your ability to handle maintenance. You've become the master of the mundane, and that anchors you firmly to the bottom of the power hierarchy.
Now here's the most insidious part of the trap: the reward. The group showers you with soft praise. You're a lifesaver. What would we do without you? This triggers a little hit of oxytocin in your brain, a chemical that makes you feel connected and valued. But this isn't real status. It's what we call a low-status payment. It's a cheap psychological trick designed to keep you in that service role, happily doing the heavy lifting for a fleeting feeling of being liked.
And right here is where the trap just slams shut. Because you made yourself the caretaker, you are now implicitly responsible for everything. When something goes wrong, all eyes turn to you. You've successfully been maneuvered into a position of high responsibility and low power. You carry all of the risk, but you have none of the actual authority to make decisions. It is the worst possible place to be, and it's a checkmate of your own making.
Okay, so that's the what and the how. But the really crucial question is, why? Why does this trap work so well? Why do smart, capable people walk into it over and over again? To understand that, we have to go a little deeper into the psychology and the biology that drive the self-sabotaging behavior.
So let's just ask the question directly. Why? Why do intelligent, ambitious people willingly walk right into this trap again and again? Well, the answer isn't a lack of intelligence or some kind of personality flaw. It's actually rooted in a deep, primal survival instinct that's hardwired into our DNA.
The answer lies in what we call the inclusion reflex. See, for our ancient ancestors, being kicked out of the tribe was basically a death sentence. So to survive, our brains developed a very simple, powerful rule: to be safe, be useful. And in the modern workplace, that ancient programming is still running in the background. It's like a faulty alarm system that's screaming at us that if we stop being helpful, we risk social and professional exile.
This ties right into a psychological principle called Sociometer theory. We subconsciously use our helpfulness like a social dashboard to check our standing in the group. We do something helpful, we look for that hit of soft praise, and we use it to gauge how safe we are. The problem is, we're misreading the data. We're confusing that temporary buzz of validation with the long-term security of real influence. This brings us to a really hard truth we have to face. We often tell ourselves, "they need me," thinking that being indispensable gives us some kind of leverage or security. But as this slide makes brutally clear, within a power dynamic, needed can very quickly become just another word for used. And that's the cognitive distortion we have to recognize if we're ever going to break free. All right, we've dissected the trap. We understand the psychology that makes us vulnerable. Now, let's shift from analysis to action. It is time to install a new operating system, a precise protocol for dismantling this loop and reclaiming your professional agency, one conversation at a time. So the first step is you have to stop feeding the system. You have to immediately cease these 4 behaviors. Stop the invisible labor, like taking notes in every meeting if it's not your job. That just keeps you recording instead of contributing. Stop being the office therapist. Their emotional state is not your responsibility. Stop the unsolicited rescues, wait to be asked. And most critically, stop devaluing your time. You have to starve the loop of its fuel. So what do you do instead? You implement this exact verbal formula, the direct request protocol. When a non-critical request comes in, you pause. You don't just reflexively say yes. You say, "I'd love to help, but I'm focused on X right now." That immediately reestablishes your priorities. Then you add, "Have you tried Y?" This is the masterstroke. It signals you're still helpful, but it pushes the work and the responsibility back to them. You restore your executive sovereignty in one single sentence. Now, this is the advanced technique, strategic non-reactivity. It means you have to develop the discipline to see a problem unfold and not immediately jump in. Let the team feel the friction of its own mistakes. Now, this is going to be uncomfortable at first. Your inclusion reflex will be screaming at you, but it's absolutely crucial. It forces them to build their own competence, and more importantly, it starts to shift your role in their eyes from the frantic fixer to the calm strategic advisor. And finally, you need an internal tool to protect yourself from manipulation. Start auditing the praise you get. The next time someone calls you a lifesaver, just pause and ask yourself this critical question: what did I just give away in exchange for that compliment? You have to recalibrate your internal reward system. Stop accepting effort-based praise as a substitute for real recognition. Demand to be valued for your outcomes, not just for your availability. Okay, let's bring this all home. Escaping the servant trap isn't just about changing your tactics. It's about fundamentally shifting your professional identity. It's about evolving from being a load-bearing wall, structurally essential but completely invisible and taken for granted, to becoming a sovereign anchor that actually sets the course and holds the standard. This slide right here captures the core mission of this entire transformation. Your job is not to rescue the room from its own dysfunction. That is a low-status, exhausting game. Your job is to anchor the goal, to be the calm, immovable point of reference that the entire team orients itself around.
the person who holds the strategic vision steady. That is the true source of authority and lasting respect.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Just look at your role, your daily actions, and how you're perceived by your colleagues. Are you a load-bearing wall, structurally essential but ultimately invisible and just taken for granted? Or are you a sovereign anchor, defining the position, respected for your stability, and setting the course? The power to choose is in your hands.